Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is June 9th. We're in the middle of the best part of summer. The light is almost unfair right now, long and generous and slow to leave, as if even the sun doesn't want to go inside. And gardeners know this summer feeling better than almost anyone. We've waited for this since February, since the seed catalogs and the first crocus pushed through the ground that wasn't quite ready. And now here it is, and something in us is already grieving it. Ray Bradbury understood that. In his book, Dandelion Wine, he wrote, "And there, row upon row, with the soft gleam of flowers opened at morning, with the light of this June sun glowing through a faint skin of dust, would stand the dandelion wine. Peer through it at the wintry day. The snow melted to grass. The trees were re-inhabited with bird, leaf, and blossoms, like a continent of butterflies breathing on the wind. And peering through, color sky from iron to blue. Hold summer in your hand. Pour summer in a glass. A tiny glass, of course. The smallest tingling sip for children. Change the season in your veins by raising a glass to lip and tilting summer in." Yes, he's right. It is June, and it's finally happening. The summer garden that we've waited to see. And it's in this moment that we hold summer in our hand. And that's the whole gardener's impulse in a nutshell, isn't it? To hold it, to bottle it, to make it last just a little longer than it will. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1822 that the Scottish-born plantsman Peter Henderson was born. Peter came to America in 1843. He spent his first years here working for two of the most respected nurserymen in the country, Grant Thorburn and then Robert Buist. He learned the trade from the inside out. But something bothered him. The seed trade used a practice that no one talked about. Most seedsmen tested their stock by sprouting seeds in moist cotton or flannel. It was a tidy method, but it was also, as Peter put it, nearly always misleading. A seed could show life in flannel and fail entirely in the ground. Peter wanted to know that his seeds were viable in real soil, in real conditions, the way gardeners actually grew them. So he tested seeds the only honest way he could think of. He planted them in soil. And Peter became the first seedsman in America to do it that way. He began slowly as a market gardener in Jersey City in 1847. Then he started writing books. His book, Gardening for Profit, published in 1865, became one of the most popular gardening books in the United States for decades. It sold 100,000 copies. His book, Practical Floriculture, followed in 1868. Peter understood what it meant to work a piece of ground into something real, and he wanted other gardeners to experience that same joy. By the time he opened Peter Henderson and Company in 1871, he had been in the dirt for nearly 30 years. His sons Alfred and Charles helped run the business. Peter constantly thought about his business and the business of growing things. He once said he wished he could hitch a balloon to his plows and harrows in early spring because the tramping of horses' feet was such a source of disappointment. Every inch of ground mattered to Peter. By 1890, Peter had 5 acres under glass in Jersey City. In his catalog, Called Everything for the Garden, Peter featured one of the first 5-color lithographs in the seed trade, and the cover showed an old white-haired gentleman. It was Peter. Over the course of his professional life, Peter sent out 175,000 letters. 2/3 of them were written in his own hand. After a full day of work, Peter would lie down and dictate the rest of his letters to his secretary. Peter Henderson died on January 17th in 1890 in Jersey City. He was 67 years old. His contemporaries called him the father of horticulture and ornamental gardening in the United States, and his son Alfred later wrote his biography. But the truest thing about Peter may be the simplest. He received 175,000 letters, most of them with questions about how to grow something in the garden. Peter answered every single one. Because if someone took the time to write to him about a garden, then Peter could not leave that unanswered. And it was on this day, in 1796, that the botanist Carl Ludwig Blume was born in the German city of Braunschweig. Carl was only 5 years old when both his parents died. Yet somehow, the orphaned boy from Germany made his way to Leiden, that beautiful university city in the Netherlands, where his adult life would begin. There, Carl trained as a physician, and he ran an apothecary too, measuring, grinding, and preparing medicines, learning the patience and the power of small things. And then suddenly, his life opened outward. Carl sailed to Java as a military apothecary, a physician and medicine maker for the Dutch colonial forces. Java was altogether heat, rain, and mountains, and plant life so dense it pressed in from every side. Within a few years of his arrival, Carl was appointed director of the Boger Botanical Gardens in the Javanese highlands. There, among all that green, Carl wrote his masterpiece, A Flora of Java, one of the great botanical works of the century. And Carl also published a remarkable book dedicated to orchids, a work still remembered not only for the plants inside it, but for the title page, featuring 3 Javanese women in ceremonial dress, with the mountains behind them and a garland of orchids arching over all of it. In 1825, Carl established the genus Dendrobium, from the Greek word for tree and life, categorizing a group of orchids with a nod to how they grew. Orchids cling to tree bark and live above the ground in air and rain. And somewhere in those Java years, Carl came upon a specific orchid that still captures the hearts of plant lovers. Near a tree, he saw what looked like a little cluster of pale moths held in the air. But when Carl came nearer, they were orchid flowers. Carl named them Phalaenopsis amabilis, the moth orchid, because the first time he saw it, the blooms clearly reminded him of moths. Carl also found coleus in the mountains of Java, those beautiful velvety leaves in burgundy, lime, copper, and cream that summer gardeners know so well, spilling from pots, studying a border with nothing but foliage and color. In February of 1862, Carl died in Leiden. He was 65 years old and a naturalized Dutch citizen. The boy who started out an orphan and found botanical glory in Java died at last in the city that had led him to everything. It's also fitting that Carl's last name was Blume, because in German, that means flower. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear the lyrics to Home Sweet Home by the American playwright and poet John Howard Payne, born on this day, June 9th, in 1791. John grew up in East Hampton, New York, a boy who knew the town pond, the salt box houses, and the gardens he would spend the rest of his life missing. John left for Europe in 1813. He expected to stay a year. He was gone for 20. When John finally sat down to write Home Sweet Home, he was living in Paris. His apartment looked out over the gardens of the Palais Royal, one of the most beautiful parks in the city. From that window, surrounded by all that beauty, John wrote about a cottage he had not seen in years. He wrote, "An exile from home, splendor dazzles in vain. Oh, give me my lowly thatched cottage again. The birds singing gaily that came at my call, give me them, and the peace of mind dearer than all. Mid pleasures and palaces, though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home." John spent his whole life writing for the stage, but he never earned a penny from the most famous song he ever wrote. I like to think about that window in Paris and all that beauty right outside the glass, and then John writing about a place he could not get back to. John died in Tunis in 1852 on the coast of North Africa. And when his remains were finally returned to American soil, he was laid to rest in Oak Hill Cemetery in Washington, D.C. And now today, a flower garden grows around his statue. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Heirloom Garden by Viola Shipman. This book is part of Garden Stories and Fiction Week, where gardens become the settings for memory, mystery, love, and transformation. And this novel sits right at the heart of all of that. The Heirloom Garden takes us to Grand Haven, Michigan, where a woman named Iris Maynard has lived behind a tall fence for most of her adult life. Iris lost her husband in World War II, and a few years later, she lost her young daughter to polio. And so Iris walled herself off from the town, from her neighbors, and from the world, but not from her flowers. Iris kept her grandmother's daylilies. She kept her mother's roses. She propagated, divided, and tended until her garden became the family she had left. But when a young woman named Abby Peterson moves in next door with a husband home from the Iraq War, shaken and struggling, and a small daughter looking for stability, Iris is pulled slowly back into the company of the living. What unfolds is a story about two women, two wars, and the patient work of starting again through the flowers they share. Now, here's a little bit about the author of this book. Viola Shipman is a pen name. The novelist behind the name is Wade Rouse, a USA Today best-selling author who took his grandmother's name as a tribute. The real Viola Shipman was a poor Ozarks seamstress and a grand gardener. Her heirlooms, her family stories, and her perfumed peonies live on in Wade's writing and in his own garden today. About this book, Wade has said, "Each flower has a memory that reminds me of family." And that's the heartbeat of this novel. The Heirloom Garden is for anyone who has ever inherited a plant and felt the person come with it. It is for anyone who has ever carried someone forward through a flower, a story, or a piece of land they tended. And finally, Here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1905, in a small French village in Auvers-sur-Oise, that a permanent resting place was arranged for Vincent van Gogh. 15 years earlier, Vincent had died after shooting himself, leaving behind more than 2,000 paintings and drawings and a grave in that quiet village. When the workers came to move Vincent's remains to the new site, they found something they hadn't expected. The roots of a thuya tree planted at his gravesite had completely encircled the casket, cradling it. It seemed impossible and almost wrong to separate them. The tree had been planted by Dr. Paul Gachet, the gentle, eccentric physician who had cared for Vincent in those final months. Gachet loved art, and he understood artists. Vincent had trusted him the way he trusted almost no one. When Vincent died, Gachet chose a thuya for the grave because Vincent had painted one. The thuya, also known as arborvitae, or the tree of life, is a conifer, a soft, feathery evergreen with flat sprays of foliage that fan out like open hands. It's fragrant, patient, quietly beautiful, cold hardy, and unfussy. At home in Zone 3 and Zone 4 gardens, content in moist soil and full sun, and the kind of tree that asks very little and then gives you hundreds of years. In his last year, Vincent had stood in Gachet's garden and painted the thuya the same way he painted the great cypresses of Saint-Remy, those reaching, flame-shaped strokes, turbulent and alive. Cypress trees don't grow that far north, but in the thuya, Vincent found the same spirit, and he painted it with the same love. And here is the quiet, strange thing. Thuya wood contains a compound called thujone, the very same compound that gives absinthe its particular power. That drink had moved through so much of Vincent's life, and so it was especially fitting that it lived in the roots of the tree that surrounded his casket. And that's why the thuya was carefully dug up, roots and all, and moved to Gachet's garden. Against all odds, it survived the shock of it. It took hold, and it kept growing, until nearly 100 years later, when someone went to find it. The tree of life. And that tree of life was almost as tall as the 3-story house beside it, which is really quite something when you think about it, that a tree could spend 15 years wrapping its roots around someone it never knew, the way love does when it has nowhere else to go. As we close the show today, remember, you can't stop June, but you can do what Ray Bradbury did. You can sip it and savor it so closely, so deliberately, that it lives somewhere inside you, long after the light changes. That's the garden in June, a place that often feels too good to be true, too marvelous to capture fully, too glorious to properly appreciate. And that's why the best we can do is just be in it as fully, as greedily as possible, tilting summer in. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.